Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me again, your one and only host here on this YouTube channel. As you can probably see, my arm is a little bit fucked up. I messed up my wrist somehow the other day and it's been feeling a little bit off for the last little while. It feels like it's probably sprained or just strained in some manner. It happened when I was like literally getting into bed, like to sleep for the night. Like one of the easiest things you can do as a human being, and yeah, I somehow managed to fuck that up and just ruin my whole life for a week. But I got this little splint thing on, and seems to be working fine. Seems to be helping out a lot. My hand doesn't hurt as much when I have this thing on, and it kind of makes me feel super powerful, like I got a badass power glove on and I'm about to like punch you out. Boom, boom, But other than that, I also have a beer. I got a good old Union-made Moosehead Lager from Nova Scotia. Shout out to my Union bros over there. And in this video, I want to talk about my experience seeing Suffocation, as well as Atheist, and Soreption on June 22nd of this year at Le Studio TD. Of course, it's a venue that used to be called L'Astral, and it's just evidence of the further continued corporatization of everything around you. Everywhere you look is something that is corporate and evil and dark. Can't even go see a fucking band at a touring venue without having to be reminded that a fucking bank owns the venue. Gotta love it. But anyway, honestly, not a huge fan of Suffocation. Like they're okay. They're obviously a legendary band. They have influenced like legions of other bands. They're pretty much entirely responsible for the existence of slam death metal as well as deathcore in the modern day. If it wasn't for Suffocation, none of those bands would have ever fucking existed. But what I was more interested in seeing was Atheist, because I was a huge Atheist fan way back in the day. Of course, I say back in the day. When I say back in the day, I mean a teenager. The last album they did was back in 2010, though I believe they are currently working on a brand new record. But I was more of a fan of the stuff that they were putting out around the year I was born, 1993. I mean, you go back and listen to those records like Unquestionable Presence and Piece of Time. Those albums are just, oh my god, they are fucking incredible. Some of the most like raw, disgusting, and boundary-pushing death metal that I think I have ever heard since then, and like to this day, and even at that time. Like I haven't heard any other band that sounds like Atheist. They are just on a fucking other level, man. So I was going to see them, but also, I'd never really given much of a chance to Soreption. That was a band that I wasn't really familiar with, so I was kind of excited to see them. And honestly, I've seen Suffocation before, so it wasn't really like anything new for me. It was really just the fact that, like, holy shit, like, Atheist, a band that's not really been active for like a very long time, this might be the only chance I ever get to see them. So hell yeah, I was absolutely going to go to that. So I showed up at L'Astral, or Le Studio TD, whatever you want to call it. And the first band took the stage. The first band was Soreption. They're a technical death metal band from Sweden, and I thought they were pretty fucking sick. They walked out on stage, and it's kind of like a shitty thing when you're in metal culture. Like when you see guys with like certain haircuts, you automatically assume like, oh, that's going to be a gent band. And that was actually a little bit what I was worried about, because their fucking bassist comes out and he's got like the typical like I don't even know like the words to describe it. I don't know the names of these haircuts, but he has like the one side of his head shaved and the other side is like short. And then the fucking drummer has like the two sides shaved and he has like a man bun. And I'm like, oh no, this is a gent band. And I don't even really necessarily have anything against gent. I mean, hey, I like Periphery as much as the next guy. I enjoy Tesseract, Meshuggah, even Born of Osiris. If you read my blog on Where Strides the Behemoth, you'll probably see some gent reviews up there, pretty positive reviews of pretty decent fucking killer albums. So I don't really have anything against gent. It's just like there are, unfortunately, a lot of gent bands out there who sound identical to each other, and it's not the most fun music in a live setting. It's really a lot more fun to listen to recorded as opposed to seeing it on a stage, at least in my opinion. But they weren't gent. Anyway, I'll just say that. They were a technical death metal band, and they were pretty fucking gnarly. Like, I was really into the shit they were playing. There was kind of a combination of, like, more atmospheric parts, as well as, like, just really fucking brutal, hit you over the head kind of stuff. And it didn't seem like it was, like, super flashy in the kind of, like, brain drill sense, which a lot of tech death, I feel, falls into. It was very much its own thing. It was very, like, I don't know how else to describe it other than it being solid. You know, it sounds like someone is taking a sledgehammer and just being like, whoosh, you know, over your head. So that was kind of what Soreption sounded like, and I enjoyed them for what they were. Probably not a band I would listen to a whole lot in, like, my own time, but I enjoyed seeing them live. I thought they put on a good show. The only thing is I thought their vocalist was a bit kind of standing in the same spot, like, for most of the set. He could have moved around more, could have had more stage presence, but the rest of the band kind of made up for that. And I still think he had, like, a commanding presence. Like, you know, you looked at him and he looked like he was very, like, focused on what it was that he was doing and focused on the audience and trying to get them engaged, but he wasn't, like, necessarily, like, moving around the stage or trying to, like, get people to fucking move and get into a mosh pit or anything like that. But then Atheist came on, and Atheist was a completely different fucking vibe, man. And honestly, I didn't recognize all the songs that they played because it's been years since I've listened to them, since I've been super into them. I really hoped that they would play Green and Elements, the title track from that record. But unfortunately, they didn't play either, which was a bit of a bummer, bit of a letdown, but you can only complain about that so much. I mean, bands only have a certain amount of time to, you know, play their set, and they're going to pick songs that is going to have, like, the most broad appeal as possible, especially if you're talking about a band that's on the level of Atheist or Suffocation, of course. But man, the energy of that band was just unfucking real. Like, probably one of the best shows I've been to so far this year. Their bassist, whose name I forget, was just jumping around the stage like a fucking crazed madman. You know, he was, like, stomping his foot. He was so into it. He reminded me of, like, more of like a thrash metal bassist, like maybe somebody from a band like Havoc, or maybe even like Municipal Waste or Iron Reagan or something like that. Like, he had that kind of energy, you know, and he was so fucking into it, man. It was unreal. Like, he had complete control of that crowd. The guitarists as well were, like, super into it, but of course, because they're playing super crazy, like, technical la 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 kind of shit, they can only move around so much. Their drummer, fucking nuts, unbelievable god shit, you know. And their vocalist, who is the only remaining original member, which is funny because he's, like, probably twice the age of all the other guys in the band. Like, I'm pretty sure Atheist basically just switched out all of their other members, so all of the only founding member remaining is their vocalist, I think. And when they tour, they have all these younger guys with them, so it's like one dude who looks like he's probably in his 40s, who looks like a thrasher from the 80s. You know, he has, like, the headband on, but he's also got, like, gray hair and, like, a gray beard and stuff. He looks like a biker more than anything else. And he comes out and he's, like, fucking screaming in that classic Atheist voice, but then all the other guys are super fucking young, all these young bucks, basically, who just have so much passion, so much energy, and are so clearly loving the fact that they're up there playing the music of this legendary death metal band. Very, very foundational, like, progressive death metal band, too. So it was so much fun. I'm beyond stoked that I got a chance to actually see Atheist live in the flesh. They killed it, even though, like, I didn't recognize all the songs that they played. They played Second the Sun from their most recent record, the one from 2010. I can't remember the name of it. Jupiter, I think it might be. But yeah, apparently they're coming out with a new record this year, and I gotta say, I am fucking hyped because these guys haven't put out anything new in 12 years. So, like, it's gonna be some good shit. So after Atheist, it was Suffocation, and it was a work night. It was a Wednesday night, so, like, I didn't work that day, but I had work the next morning. And even when I have days off, I usually like to wake up around the same time that I normally wake up for work, because I don't want to fuck up my sleep schedule too much. The only time I kind of let that slide is when I'm on vacation or going for a long weekend or something like that. So I knew I was going to have to wake up at 6 a.m. the next morning, and I was already like fucking tired. I'd been up since 6 that morning anyways, even though it was my day off. So I went upstairs. Luckily, Le Studio TD is one of those venues that has a seated area upstairs. Like it's big enough to be like that. Le Studio TD is kind of similar to Theater Corona, where it has like, you know, the big bottom area, but then there's like basically bleachers or like a balcony area upstairs that you can go to. There's a ton of seats up there. So for Suffocation, I went and sat down to watch them, and I was basically falling asleep by the end of their set. And it had nothing to do with the band. It was just purely the fact that I was tired. But it always feels a bit funny when I'm there watching a band and I'm yawning, and I feel bad because I want to be like, I'm not yawning because you guys are boring. I'm yawning because I've been up for like almost 24 hours at this point. I got work tomorrow morning, man. Like, Jesus Christ, I'm almost 30 years old, give me a break. But obviously they don't give a shit about that. I'm sure they understand this is like, you know, what they do for a living. I'm assuming a band as big as Suffocation probably makes a living off their music, but who knows, especially this day and age. But anyway, you're not here to listen to me ramble about that kind of shit. You're here to listen to me talk about the show. And the show itself was fucking great. Like, they were fantastic musicians. As soon as Terrence Hobbs came out on stage, like, the crowd went nuts. It's clear that there was a lot of love for Suffocation here in Montreal, like Montreal metal fans. I've seen more Suffocation shirts when walking around than any other like brutal band, you know? I mean, I'm not counting like Slayer or anything like that, but when it comes to just pure straight up like death metal, like extreme metal, I see more Suffocation shirts than I do any other group. So there's definitely a lot of love for them here, and it showed in the crowd. I mean, the crowd was fucking nuts. They were loving it from beginning to end. Again, I'm not super familiar with Suffocation, so I can't really say what songs they played, what songs they didn't. But there were some fucking gnarly riffs in there, and watching Hobbs just like shred these fucking insane solos, and then going back into the kind of like chugged, like down-tuned riffs, is definitely an experience, that's for sure. The only downside of the night is that I did get smacked in the head by a guy in the mosh pit. It wasn't his fault. Basically, this dude lost his footing, and he careened out of the mosh pit full force into me, and his head made contact with my head like right here, basically, like right in the cheekbone underneath my eye. And man, it fucking hurt. Like, I thought for sure I was gonna have a black eye the next morning, but I woke up and didn't. When I got home that night, I looked in the mirror, and there was like a little bit of a red mark here, but I woke up the next morning and I was fine. That was the only downside, is that did kind of take a damper out of the night. That was during the Atheist pit. But other than that, it was still a fucking fantastic show. And again, Soreption was cool, Suffocation was cool, but Atheist by far stole the fucking show. They mentioned that it had been 11 years since the last time they were in Montreal. So I felt very, very lucky to have gotten the chance to see them for their first time back here in over a decade. And I hope that it isn't another decade before they come back, because Jesus Christ, I'm going to be 40 by that point, and I don't want to think about how old the vocalist of Atheist is going to be by that point. But yeah, that was my experience seeing Suffocation, Atheist, and Soreption at Le Studio TD on June 22nd, 2022. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like in the bottom area of this video, wherever the fuck it is. And if you like the shit that I do here on this channel, you know, posting music, posting videos about my experiences seeing shows, posting videos about me tasting different craft beers, all that shit that's related to, you know, I guess metal or alternative subculture, then consider subscribing to this channel, please. Until the next time, peace out.